Welcome to the Giving Room with Dave and David, where we encourage remarkable generosity, from amazing stories to easy to understand discussions about tools for giving that may just be right for you.
Welcome to the Giving Room. I'm Dave.
I'm David.
And we are thrilled to have a special guest, Carol, calling in from Georgia today.
Hello, guys.
Welcome. Thanks for being here with us.
Sure.
And so today we're going to be kind of diving into more of a ministry spotlight, highlighting adoption and just a little bit more what the world looks like since Roe v. Wade ended, and other questions along that line. And we're so thrilled to have Carol here with us. So welcome to the Giving Room, Carol.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and tell us, we told everybody who you are, but tell us more. Tell us a little bit about, who you work for, what you lead, what you do, all those things.
Sure. Well, first of all, I would like to say I'm a huge fan of the Giving Room, just so you know.
And we didn't even hear to say that.
I do the cast.
All right, we appreciate that.
Sure. So I am the executive director of Covenant Care Services here in Macon, Georgia. And we serve the entire state. We are a licensed adoption agency here. We are completely nonprofit. So that means that we get no money from the state or from the federal government. So we are completely run by donations from people like you guys.
All right. Awesome. And then, and Dave kind of talked about this a little bit ago. So we shouldn't even be doing this, right? Like, since Roe's been overturned, there's no need for what you're doing or anything, right? It's like it's all
right.
over.
Yes, right. There's no need. Actually, the need is greater today than it's ever been. So when you overturn Roe v. Wade, then that means that the work has just begun. So when you are taking options away, like abortion from women, so you can't go out and have an abortion anymore, or it's a lot harder, then you have to seek another option. And so adoption always option, but it completely over the last, 50, 60 years, adoption has just evolved into so much more, and just many options through what adoption can look like for these women and families.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was like, well, nothing's. The law has changed at the federal level, but just pushed everything back to the state, and there's more fighting than there was before now, with different challenges to heartbeat bills and things of that nature. But then culture hasn't changed, right? Everything's still fallen, and everybody's still doing the same things.
Everybody's broke.
Yeah, everybody's broken. So we have all the
in more ways than one.
Yeah, that's true.
That'd be a whole nother podcast. So.
Yeah, for real.
Well, and I think to your point, when you change, you have this, what it does actually creates more of a need for what you do, not less. It actually increases not only the conversations, and I remember I was sitting at an event with a pregnancy resource center, and they were talking about how, if these bills go through and there's changes to the organizations like a Planned Parenthood, are pregnancy resource centers and adoption agencies and these sort of organizations that serve these moms ready for the influx? Do they have the funding they need, the resources they need? We need to get ready to support you greater than ever before in the event that this happens. And then it happened. So tell us a little bit more, Carol, too, on what you're seeing. How has this changed and affected you guys?
Sure. So what we're seeing is, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about, are we ready for that? So statistically, there are about over 800,000 abortions that happen within just the United States of America. And so when you look at that statistic and you say, all right, everybody puts in a heartbeat bill, you can't, have an abortion after 6 weeks, or whatever the law is, say you completely abolish abortion. So now these women are pregnant and they don't want to parent. They don't have the resources. They don't know what to do. And so they need us now more than ever. So these pregnancy centers, the churches, everybody's got to step up. And what are we going to do with 800,000 more children than what we had before? And so how do these states take in that cost? What does that look like? Do we have more families? Do we have the resources to help provide for these women? And so you're definitely seeing an uptick and women asking about the option of adoption or really searching for those resources to help them be able to be a better parent.
Yeah, because now it's maybe more of a reality than it was is the thing, and that is the opportunity. And that's why we're doing this. So we call it the Ministry Spotlight. We're highlighting covenant care today. But what we really want to do is just encourage everyone to know that this work's not done, and it sounds like that's what Carol's telling us. There's still a lot to be done, and a lot of women to take care of, a lot of babies to save, and then in your case, families that even come out of it on the other side if a birth mom chooses adoption. Can you tell us? And Dave mentioned pregnancy resource centers. Kind of what's the difference? If I'm trying to figure out who to support, and we would say yes, right? You support them both, but as far as like what a pregnancy resource center may be goaled on or their objective versus like maybe what covenant care, is there a difference between kind of what the objective is or not?
Yes. So that is something I educate out the state of Georgia out, and really, truly anybody that'll give me a second, I will go ahead and just dive into it with them. Pregnancy resource centers, medical facilities are a huge need. I mean, obviously you want these with a safe place to have pregnancy, to have an ultrasound. The medical facilities out there now, offer so many different things for these women. But what happens from there? So she tells you like, okay, I'm pregnant. Now what do I do? So pregnancy centers offer parenting classes, and that's great and that's wonderful. But what happens if they lose connection with these women? It's more, what I see is the pregnancy center is not necessarily a holistic approach. They're not serving this woman as a whole. And so what we're seeing as an adoption agency, okay, so she doesn't want to choose adoption, still going to support her and love her and connect her to those sources. And statistically, when you work with 250 to 300 women, only 2% of them choose adoption.
Yeah, what was that percentage?
I always get the question.
You may have broke up a little bit. What was the percentage that choose adoption?
Okay. The percentage that chooses adoption is 8 to 10%.
Okay.
So, you wonder, I get the question all the time, well, what about the other 90%? What do? They parent, or they choose, and we use this a lot, they choose to keep their children. And so keeping and parenting is two totally different things. And so what we want to do is help set her up for success. I mean, there is just, you said, David, we live in a broken world, and there is so much mental health and addiction and homelessness. There are so many different things that have brought this young lady to us. And so that's where I feel like it's so important for a ministry like Covenant Care. We're serving this woman as a whole and for a lifetime. And then that goes into the triad. People always ask, that's such a weird word. What's a triad? What's a triad? And y'all probably wonder the same.
Yeah, we'll ask. So what's a triad?
Yes.
We probably don't even know to ask.
That's where you've got the birth family and the adoptive family and the adoptee. So our main goal is to do what's in the best interest of the child. So even though we do majority of infant adoptions, those infants grow up to be adults. And so just like parenting any child, whether it's an adopted child or a biological child, there are issues. There are things that come about and questions that you don't have answers for. And so we want to, to be able to, once again, holistically serve that adoptive family. So it's not just the birth family side, it's the adoptive family side and the adoptee.
Yeah. So the triad is really all three parties to that, right? Then. So it's a birth mom or potential birth mom. So the gal that's pregnant, the baby, and then the potential adoptive family. That's the sort of three parts of the triad there.
Yes.
All right. I got it. So, and then I heard you say something. I just want to make sure I heard this right. You said for the rest of her life. So you're working with women as long as they'll work with you, whether they place for adoption or whether they decide to parent. And then the same with the adoptive couple. You're kind of there for the long haul. Is that what I heard?
Right. So I just know within the last 4.5 years that I've been here, we actually have a board member here at Covenant Care that was one of the first birth moms that ever placed through Covenant Care. So to still be in contact with her 34 years later, And then to know her daughter and to have contact with her, just right there shows that we're not going anywhere. And probably 6 months ago, to have a birth mom call. And when I just so happened to pick up the phone and said, Covenant Care Services, this is Carol. How can I help you? And she was silent. And I was like, hello, hello. And she's like, oh my gosh, this phone number still works.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah. And she goes, I never thought that the adoption agency I placed with 18 years ago would still be there.
Wow. So that continuity is some comfort for lots of folks. And you probably have, do you have even like an adopted child, once they're an adult, come back and ask questions, or does that happen, or is that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So a lot of what we have is, you've got people who reach out to you. Am I hear me still?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. You've got adoptees that can reach out and just say like, hey, I want to know about the adoption reunion registry. And, how do I connect to that? Or do y'all happen to have any of my baby pictures my birth mom placed me? So we're able to, connect with them and figure out any information that we have on file. We'd be more than happy to share with them.
And what adoption reunion registry? What I don't know what that is. Don't know.
Yeah, same.
What is that?
Okay. All right. I'm just teaching y'all kind of things.
Absolutely.
What's the idea?
So in the state of Georgia, and I can't speak for all states, but as far as I know, it is within every state. So the adoption reunion registry is something that the mother fills out, or birth father, depending on if they're both there or not. Obviously, the mom's there when she signs surrender paperwork. And so the adoption reunion registry connects her. And once the child turns 18, he or she can connect with their birth mom. So all he or she to do is contact the adoption reunion registry, whether he has his mom's name or has no information. He could just say, I know that I was born in Macon, Georgia in 1989. Can you help me find my birth family? And so they facilitate that for adoptees and for families.
Okay. So that's when they turn 18, you said. Well, and then I'd heard you guys encourage, I don't think require, maybe you can correct me, open adoptions, right? So what does that mean? Because that may be somebody actually, like the child may know who their birth mom is way before they're 18, right? In the case of an open adoption.
So, and I just encourage you guys, I mean, this is a time for people to educate themselves and to learn. The adoptee voices are super loud and clear, and we hear them. And so here at Covenant Care, we feel like when you know better, you do better. And we are not perfect by any means, but when you have adoptee voices coming out and saying, it was really tough for me not to know who my birth family was, to not have that, because adoptions were so closed 30 years ago. There was no identifying information. Visits, if you had a visit, it was right after the child was born. So what we do here at Covenant Care, and you use the word open, David. So there's a huge difference in the openness that we facilitate through Covenant Care. And then there's complete openness where there's not a third party involved. So with Covenant Care, we continue to stay involved through and facilitate those visits. Now, if the adoptive family and birth family want to go outside and not have Covenant Care, then we fully support that and want to be there to support them in those meetings and birthday parties and Thanksgivings together, whatever they feel comfortable with. But, unfortunately, that doesn't happen for everybody. And so we want to make sure that all parts of the triad feel comfortable with those meetings and visits.
And you're saying visits. So that's actually with like the birth mom who made an adoption plan, and then what was her child, and then the adoptive couple, right? So you're saying that, then that's the open piece, right? That there's some coordinated meetings or visits, as you said, that get facilitated by Covenant Care. Is that the right words?
Yeah, that's perfect. So just like within the last week, we facilitated adoptive family, adoptee, and birth mom visits. And we even we have birth fathers and we have grandparents that come to visits and things like that. Because my thing is, even though the law states that the adoptive couple is legally the mother and father, we don't ever want to forget the piece of that child would not be here if it were not for his or her birth mother and birth father.
Oh, wow. Did I interrupt you a second ago? Do you have a question?
No.
Okay.
I love adoption. I have a niece and nephew who are both adopted, and two nephews in two different families. And it's always been close to my heart. But I also love the picture of adoption, right? Because one of the things in scripture we're seen as, we're adopted into God's family, right? That is even the way that we are through Christ, part of this family, and such an incredible. I love that God uses that picture for us. And Carol, would love to kind of, from your perspective, having seen this incredible story over and over again, would love to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Sure. Adoption is beautifully messy, is what we like to say here. On the best of days, it's when you're handing a newborn baby over to an adoptive family. I've heard many, many adoptive moms say the joy that brings, but also the thought of thinking her arms are full, whereas the birth mother's arms are empty. And so, it's a really sobering thought, but also we have to remember that, she's not alone. That through covenant care, we're here to build God's kingdom. Mm-hmm. We're a ministry first and foremost. And so if these men and women, children, families that we work with, if this is the one and only time they get to hear about the gospel, then we're able to talk about through this adoption plan. Let's remember that in the gospel and through the gospel that we're adopted into God's family. And so truly, adoption runs through all of us. And so with that, we're able to share the gospel through adoption, which is just a really neat place to be.
Yeah, that's true. I love the thought that adoption runs through all of us. So it's like if we're in Christ, right? So if we've decided to follow him, then that's true. We're adopted into his family. And that's a great reminder. So if somebody was going to consider adoption, so both my wife and I wanted to consider that if we weren't ancient, like we are maybe. So, what would we even think about? Like, so what should a couple consider? And what's the process like if, a couple wanted to adopt? How's that work?
So I would always like to make sure, once again, we're very different. I spoke to a young gentleman on the phone yesterday and just made sure that I really stressed it. We're first and foremost a ministry. So if you're adopting to adopt just because you want a baby, then we're probably not the best agency for you, because we truly want these families to invest in the birth family and in their child. And so if you don't want that kind of relationship, then you may want to look into somebody else. So that's the first thing that I want to tell families, especially couples who are looking into adopting. It's a ministry. It's, it's not just you get to take a baby home and everything's perfect from there. As beautiful as it is, there's a lot of things you have to work through. And so the other thing is people always talk about cost. Adoption's so expensive. How in the world can it be that way? There's so many kids out there that need homes. Well, the great news is there are tons of grants out there. There are, I can think of 10 right offhand of grants that families can apply for to help with those costs. Now, we're the lowest, I say, not only in the state of Georgia, but probably in the United States because of our donors. We're able to help with 2/3 of the adoption fee. So that keeps our adoption fees super low.
Wow.
And then also, David, the things that they need to think about is, are we financially ready? Are we spiritually ready? Are we physically ready to bring, another child or our first child home?
Yeah. And so the first, they'd reach out to you then, and if they lived in Georgia, and then you'd ask them some of those questions and you'd start the process. What is the time?
Yes, sir.
And then how long does that take? There has to be a baby, right? So I don't know.
Right. So I wish I was clairvoyant and could tell everybody when God is going to place a baby in their home. But the adoption process, it truly depends on how quickly the couple moves. So now, obviously, we do a ton of background checks, GBI, FBI, child abuse registry. I mean, we're gonna check it out. We are going to make sure that you are fit to bring in and for us to trust that we're placing this baby with you. And two, we've got to tell a birth mom that we have done our due diligence to make sure that this is a safe place for their child to be brought up. So it's not just the FBI, GBI, financially making sure you're stable, but we also go through a counseling process. So we meet with the couple one-on-one. We meet if they have other children in the home, and talk through why adoption, why are you wanting to adopt, and counsel through what that looks like for them.
And then, so is it like that the couple picks the baby, or does the birth mom pick the couple, or how does that? You got a catalog there? How's this work? I don't know.
Yeah. So
this sounds horrible.
Yes, we got a catalog. Pick it out. So a birth mom goes through the process with us. We meet with her face to face. So we actually go to her. It's cost to the birth mom or the expected client. She reaches out to us. So we talk through her social medical, and through there, we're able to show profiles to the birth mom. So it is truly an experience to watch the Holy Spirit work within her heart. And just within that meeting. So she could be presented 8 to 10 profiles to look through
of couples and potential couples. Is that what? Yeah.
Yes. Of adopted couples. And she could pick them because they have a gigantic dog and she had a dog growing up, or like to cut down a fresh tree every year. And she's always wanted to do that. So that, just really resonates with her. It is, as some of the stories I could tell y'all of how a birth mom connects with an adoptive family, is just unreal.
Wow, that's pretty fascinating. I wouldn't even know to think about that. That's pretty cool.
As we think about it, again, we talked a little bit about, of course, the adoption, pregnancy resource centers, all of the various states, everything's kind of, again, because of Roe, we have a lot of turmoil right now. There's a lot on every state is fighting different legal battles on the abortion issue, which then, of course, has influence in the pregnancy resource space and the adoption space and all these sort of things. As someone, who's just thinking through all of this, I want to get more involved. I want to figure this out. What are ways that for me, I'm not looking to adopt, but I want to support moms and that are going through this process and this confusion, or even just to be involved. Yeah. What are some next steps, things I should be thinking about?
So I think about this a lot because we hear, churches, people will come to me and like, well, what can I do to help? Like, I'm not, my gift is not counseling a woman in an unexpected pregnancy. Like, right. Dave, I love you, man, but I don't necessarily see you sitting down with a pregnant girl and connecting with her.
Not my gifting. No.
Yeah.
My wife maybe, but not me.
That'd be awkward.
You're like, that is not my spiritual gift.
No.
So where people feel like, well, I feel frozen, like I don't know what to do. So I'm just not going to do anything.
Right.
And I want to discourage that from people. So maybe your gift, Dave, is not to counsel a woman in a crisis pregnancy. So what you can do is you can financially help places that do that. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I try to help people understand that maybe God's not called you to do this, but he's called me to do it. And so I need you to help to fund us. So we want to defund Planned Parenthood, but we need to fund places that are truly kingdom building and investing in these lives, and not just for 9 months, but for the next 20 something years. Mm-hmm. So that's where I need churches to understand. It could be if I call and say, hey, I need a car seat. Boom. I need somebody, like, that's where you can stand up. That's where you can help do those kind of things. Or a lot of I was even thinking about this. We have churches that say, well, we want to mentor women. Well, you got to get out there and get them. I mean, we can connect you to those women, but are you truly there to invest in their life? We all have busy lives. Well, I'm going to go to church and I'm going to thing. But we've got to get outside the four walls of the church. We've got to be the church. You can't just sit in the church. You got to get out there and be the church to these women.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like partnering with someone like Covenant Care is a way to do that. Right. So it's like, yeah.
And if you're not in Georgia, finding a place who does, again, holistic care for women in crisis or women in need, or again, experiencing an unplanned pregnancy, there is so many opportunities, so many places. Carol, if I'm in Ohio, where are how should I look? How can I find a place to get involved in this cause in Ohio or in Indiana? Do you have any recommendations for me?
Yeah. I always say you need to vet where you're putting your money. You need to know, I mean, whether you're a Christian or not, you need to make sure that they are doing things right. They're abiding by the laws in their state. And so I would encourage just to Google pregnancy center near me or a medical facility near me. Check out their website, look to see if they have a statement of faith. If you're not a believer and, you're fine with, not supporting somebody who is a believer, then you want to look to see like what kind of services they're providing for these women. So I always love to give a good shout out for people who are not in Georgia, because I think that we do it the best, that we are the best kept secret, right, David?
Yeah, we said that. And as far as Georgia goes, this is the best pro-life investment you can make. So
yes. I mean, we don't want to be a secret, but if I can give a shout out to any adoption agency that we super align with, and that would be Lifeline. So Lifeline Children's Services is a sister to us. Okay. And we absolutely love them. They are phenomenal. They do a great job. They are mission forward and mission minded. And so those who are outside of the state of Georgia, I would encourage people to research them.
Yeah. Well, we can make sure there's both links to Covenant Care as well as Lifeline for sure in the notes for the podcast. Well, and which brings up, how could people find you if they're in Georgia? How do they find Covenant Care? What's the best way?
Yeah. So just go into our website. It's covenantcareadoptions.com. That's a great, we'd love for you to follow us on our social media. We have our Instagram and our Facebook page, which is just Covenant Care Services. And so that's a way to find us. We're obviously phone number 478-475-4990 is another way. We'd love to hear from you. So yeah, those are the ways you can contact us.
No, I appreciate that. And we'll make sure those are in the notes. I mean, this has been helpful for me. I think hopefully it's been helpful for, everyone else too, and learning a little bit more about adoption. I think maybe tongue in cheek, we were saying, now that Roe has been overturned, there's nothing to do. That's silly. So hopefully folks know that that's not the case. Yeah. And as Carol shared, there's, even more to be done and more people to work with and serve.
Awesome. So as we kind of summarize here, kind of what we've been talking about, right? So we do know in the U.S., right, Roe v. Wade's overturned. What that means is not that abortion is over. It means that every state is determining on a state-by-state level what that law looks like. And many, almost immediately, abortion became illegal. Many are fighting that battle. And so what that means is, there's a lot to learn, a lot to get involved in, a lot to figure out what this looks like. And in the meantime, that means there's a lot of women who are confused, kind of caught in the middle of all of this, unknowing not sure what to do. And so places like pregnancy resource centers or like Covenant Care Services here are amazing and kind of helping educate and serve these women. And so there's a greater need than ever before because Roe v. Wade was overturned for these places. So think about getting involved and seeing how you can do that. One of the things we talked a little bit about is open adoptions. How do we make sure we take care of the adoptee? So when you're looking at ways to get involved, again, it comes down to how do we best care for these children? That's one of the most important things we've got to be thinking about.
And serve the birth mom.
Correct. And serve the birth mom holistically. Again, it's not just about saving the child, but saving the family, saving the whole situation, and helping, of course, point them back. It's like we're adopted as well into the family of God if you're a believer. So we're received adoption. How can we get involved in helping these people at risk in the best way possible? Again, you can find more details in the show notes. Of course, covenantcareadoptions.com is where you can find Carol and her team. Givingroompodcast.com is where you can find more information about this podcast. But we are just thrilled to hang out with you and talk about this important cause today on the Giving Room.
Thank you so much for joining us, Carol. I think it's been helpful to us and hopefully helpful to everyone else. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you so much, Carol. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
The Giving Room podcast is brought to you by Giving Design LLC, where we help ministries and their donors utilize planned giving to change the world. Go to givingdesign.com to learn more. As always, a huge thank you to River Radio Ministries for sponsoring and producing this podcast. Go to riverradio.com to listen or learn more.